Well, there was another important first in the Abbott Laboratories case, and that was that, if I understand correctly, you gave the very first virtual oral argument in the California Supreme Court when you argued the Abbott Laboratories case. Is that right?
Lucky me. Yes.
Yeah. It had no roadmap, nothing to go off of. So, what was that like?
Well, I think I was more nervous about technology and issues dealing with the computer and was I going to be able to be heard, all of these things. It was also very early on in the pandemic, so we weren't as skilled at using Zoom or what technologies, but the Supreme Court clerks were very nice. They had a training for us. They helped us, sent us, a guide. And there was one time during the argument that my computer froze and I panicked and it came back on right when I needed to do my rebuttal. So I got through it, but that was very extra nerve wracking, I guess. And then, we learned some lessons by, watching, because you don't realize that everybody's watching you the entire time. And so you really can't put your head down or make faces. People are taking snapshots. So that, I think there was a lot of learning, a learning curve. And it was so early on. I had my kitchen in the background, so my dog was there. It was just not the same experience. The first time I got to go to Sacramento, to the oldest, courthouse for the Supreme Court argument, and you just don't have that feeling of how important it is. But maybe that took the nerves off a little bit because I'm in my kitchen. So there's a lot of, I think, pros and cons. I knew I was going to make it on time. I wasn't stressed to get there. And luckily they had trained us and the technology worked. So I actually think it was a positive experience. I couldn't really see the judges' faces as much while I was arguing. So that's something that you miss if you're virtual trying to argue.
Were they not on a individual feed? Were they all just kind of lumped together, or how did they appear?
They had them socially distant. And so I know one of the justices was like in an office, and I think a couple were on the bench. I can't remember exactly now, but they were not all together. And it was just hard to see. And they weren't able to do their normal interruptions, where I wasn't sure if they were wanting to ask a question or not. So they had to kind of wait to the end and say, does anybody else have any other questions? And I know at one time I thought one of the justices was raising their hand and they weren't. So that was a little awkward. I think in that respect, I'd prefer to be in person so I can see their face and they can, try and interrupt me, I guess, a little bit easier.
Right.
But I do think they got their questions answered, I hope.